Minister, I'm introducing this question to ask you your future plans in relation to recruitment, given that recruitment has now recommenced into Garda Síochána. The fact that the force has dipped significantly below 13,000, the figure of 13,000, and also if you could outline your future plans to integrate the Garda Reserve into the force. Thank you.
Minister.
Thanks, Deputy. Obviously, Deputy, your own government introduced a moratorium. I'm very pleased that we have actually, under this government, been able to effectively reopen Templemore and start recruitment, and that there are now 300 recruits in Templemore. Given the improved economic situation, that has been possible, and that has been welcomed by everybody. The strength of the Garda Síochána on the 31st of December 2014, as the latest date for which figures are readily available, was 12,799, with 1,124 Garda Reserve, with a further 48 in training, and a very significant increase in civilian staff, which, as you know, has been recommended by every report that has analysed the situation in relation to the future role of Garda Síochána. It has said that there are tasks which are appropriate to civilians, and that is increasing. And just 3 weeks ago, 42 more civilians started work in Dublin Airport, replacing Gardaí who were doing that job previously. I'm very pleased that my colleague, the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, agreed to the resumption of Garda recruitment. And as I say, we now have 300 Garda students in training. Obviously, there needs to be sufficient Gardaí to support the delivery of the policing service which the public expect and deserve. And this does mean an appropriate level of Garda recruitment is needed, not simply to counter the effects of ongoing retirements, but to bring the Garda Síochána the energy and vitality that we clearly see in Templemore, which are so important in the often very physically demanding work of policing. And I remain in discussion with my colleague, Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, on the exact timing of future intakes of Garda recruits. You asked about Garda strength. Clearly, there are many factors that impact on the appropriate and optimum Garda strength. Obviously, issues like the availability of modern ICT infrastructure, which we are effectively dealing with now, and changes in organisation and work practice that would maximise efficiency. A key objective must be to ensure the best use of Garda resource. I'm sure you'd agree with that. And that has featured very strongly in the reports from the Garda Inspector that we've got recently, analysing the exact use, and certainly the exact use of Gardaí and where they should be allocated. And these are recommendations that the Garda Commissioner and the management staff are examining very carefully.
Minister, the remainder of your report will appear in the official record.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Minister, what we're trying to establish from government is what is the official number which government wants to achieve in terms of the strength of the force. Is it 13,000? Is it 13,500? Is it somewhere in between? Or is it the figure which is now below 13,000 of 12,799? And when you factor into that figure that on most given days you could have up to 500 members of the force out sick, I got that information from you by way of PQ, and that you have a further 110 members who are on incentivised career break. The most significant resource that Garda Síochána has or needs is manpower, and if we are deficient in manpower, well then it puts the whole system under pressure, as you know. And you could have, for example, the fact that you have 113,500 bench warrants outstanding. That type of work falls behind, and significant issues arise in relation to that. So what we're trying to establish is this: what is your number? What is the number? Can we name the number in terms of what the minimum level should be? The present Commissioner Noreen O'Sullivan has stated that she wanted it maintained at 13,000. It has now dipped below that. Can the government nail your colours to the mast in relation to that? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Well, I've given you the figure, which it is at the moment, the 12,799, just somewhat below the 13,000 figure. Just to put some perspective on this in terms of the number, 2006 we had Garda strength just under 13,000. It's interesting to note that the height of the Northern Ireland Troubles, the average number in the force was between 10,500 and 11,000 at a time when there was no Garda reserve at all. Certainly, I do believe that on Garda Síochána can carry out their duties. They're extremely capable and talented force. The Garda Commissioner has said that she is that frontline Garda service will continue to be prioritised. And that, she has said the crackdown on gangland, organised crime and keeping communities safe is absolutely prioritised. Certainly the figure of 13,000 is the figure that the Garda Commissioner has spoken about, and that is a number I'm confident will be maintained.
Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. I think it's of critical importance for the management of Garda Síochána that in order for they to do their manpower planning and to comply with what they want to set out in their annual policing plan, that they can know with certainty what the number is. And at the moment, unfortunately, it seems to be a variable factor, and I think that is something which you need to consider. Can I ask you also, as I've indicated in the question, your position in relation to the further recruitment of Garda reserves? As I said to you previously at committee, there is a lot of people out there willing to give up their time to the Garda reserves to augment on Garda Síochána. And secondly, the issue which is concerning the current body of Garda reserves, in that they don't see enough opportunity for progression into the force, into the main force in general. I think the numbers that are in training in Templemore, which came from the Garda Reserve, are quite small relative to the intake. And finally, in relation to Garda Reserves, can I ask you, your predecessor, Alan Shatter, stated that there was a review of the Garda Reserves undertaken in 2011 with a view to increasing their powers and their duties. Has any work or progress been made in relation to that? If you could address those three issues in relation to Garda Reserves. Thank you.
Well, as you rightly indicate, Deputy, there is a huge interest in the Garda Reserve. I think that has tallied as well with the new recruitment that's going on. And in fact, 23 of the first group who entered Templemore were members of the Reserve. 17 former Reserve members were in the second batch of 100 new recruits, and 13 former Reserve members were in the third batch of 100 new full-time recruits. Recruitment has been ongoing, but did slow somewhat in 2014 because of the recruitment to Garda Síochána. The Public Appointment Service focused on that. But I do want to say to you, and I know you have a huge interest in this area, that this is expected to change in 2015, and that there will be further, more accelerated recruitment to the Garda Reserve. And also, yes, it is expected that new powers will be rolled out to the Garda Reserve shortly, and I'll keep the Deputy informed as that progresses.